Hey everybody, Paul here. Today what I want to do is we're going to calibrate our basic torque wrench. But I had an idea and that's what we're going to test out. There's been a few of you that have written to me and tell me how you've over-torqued a bolt to the point that it's popped off and it's created other problems for you. After a little bit of thought, I came up with this idea, and I think this was a good way to very easily check and make sure this guy's doing what it's supposed to be doing. So Kelly's going to man the camera, I'm going to man the vise. We're at his place. Stick around and you'll see what's going to happen. Today I'm not in my garage, but I'm in a friend's garage. So Kelly has a vise. He's holding the camera today. I thought it'd be kind of cool if we could see if we could calibrate one of these things and make sure it's working right before we actually try and use it. So I'm over here at a buddy's house, and he happens to have a vise, which I do not have. And he also has a nice long bolt, something else I don't own. And what we're gonna do is I've got a 15-pound dumbbell, some string that hopefully holds a 15-pound dumbbell, and we've got the same torque wrench that I used in my original video. And what we're going to do is we're going to set this to 15 foot-pounds of torque, and we're going to hook it up to this dumbbell, and we're going to see if we can get it to click. If we can, then I'd say redneck style, that's probably calibrated. You can get technical. I'll share some links with you on the mathematics you can run if you really want to get crazy with it. But I mean, just for trying to make sure you're not going to bust off a bolt in the head of your engine, this is a good way to just double check your torque wrench. Alright, so once again, I get questions from you guys on a regular basis about how to set like 22 foot-pounds of torque using an inch-pound torque wrench. It's really easy. These are graduated, so this one around the handle, those count as a single foot-pound, and it goes from 0 to 9. These count in inch-pounds, these little slides, and so it has 120 means 10 foot-pounds, so 120 inch-pounds. Okay, so I'm gonna go up past the 120 mark. I'm gonna hit the 120 mark right there, and we'll see if you guys can see that here. All right, you see that? Close enough. So hit that 120, and then I'm gonna count up 5 more spots. So I'm gonna go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, and I'll put 5 right there, and I'll show it to you guys so you can see it. And that way you see how to use these goofy little inch-pound torque wrenches. So it should be right there. See, that's number 5. All right. So we're going to hook this thing up here, and you get it nice and level. And then I'm going to come around the other side, and I'm going to drop the weight, and it's going to fall, and it's going to hit Kelly's really nice charger. And then you're going to see me running out the garage door here. Did I do that right?
Let some weight fall on it. Is it holding?
Yeah, it's holding.
Yeah, you're good.
Did you hear it click? Probably not. Let's do it again. So I'll lift it up, let go of the weight, and you can hear it click. So I set this to 15 foot-pounds of torque, which comes to 120 inch-pounds plus another 36 inch-pounds, which is 156 inch-pounds. Equals 15 foot-pounds of torque. So it's a real easy test. You don't have to get heavily involved in math to figure it out. And I hope that helps you guys, so you don't torque down something too hard and bust the bolt off. I'm back in my home office, and one of the things I realized is me just hanging a 15-pound dumbbell from the end of this torque wrench here might not satisfy everybody that could watch this video. There is one thing that I didn't take into consideration at the time. The leverage that you're getting, that actually increases the amount of applied torque to the wrench. And what you generally do is you're going to measure the distance from the center of here to where you would put your hand here, out here, and that leverage actually increases the foot-pounds of torque. You need to calculate that if you really want to get detailed. There's an actual formula that you can use. I actually took the time to kind of like look it up, figure it out. It took me a few minutes, but it's actually relatively simple. So I'm just going to kind of go through this, and I'm going to use the example that I applied, that I showed you just a few minutes ago when I was out in Kelly's garage and we were using the vise with the bolt on the end of it. The only difference is I'm not actually going to torque or put 15 pounds on the pressure on this. So in order to really get your accurate measurement, what you want to do is you're going to mark the center of the top here, and then you're going to mark where you're going to apply the weight. So where you would normally put your hand, and then I'm going to measure that distance. So I go here, it's about 7 inches. So I'd show you, but take my word for it. So actually, I'd say it's about 8 inches to where the mark is. So 8 inches to where the mark is to the center of this. The next thing I'm going to do is when I put the weight on, I'm going to put it on exactly at 8 inches. And then when it puts the pressure and I hear the click, now I'm going to move that weight in closer and closer until I no longer get the click. So when it stops clicking, that's when I know that the amount of pressure being applied is not enough to hit that 15 foot-pounds of torque. My second measurement was 7 inches. Now, if I convert this to meters, 1 foot is 1.3 meters. It's 0.33 something. But 8 inches comes out to like 0.208 meters. And if you're not sure how to do that conversion, you can actually just Google inches to metric. So here's my 1.778. So I'm going to jot those numbers down. For my second mark, D2 is 1778. So you don't have to be a math genius to do this. The internet does it for you. And here we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit the 8 and we'll come up with 2.2032. 2032. That's my distance 1. And then I know what my weight is, which is 15 pounds, right? So that's my weight. And now we're gonna run the formula. To calculate this is pretty easy. What we need to do is we need to determine what our applied torque is. So the formula is going to be torque applied is going to equal our torque setting times, and I'm just going to use this little button there because that's easier, times our first distance divided by our second distance. And remember, the first distance is where we put the hand, and the second distance is where we no longer could, with the 15 pounds hanging from the torque wrench, it could no longer get the torque wrench to click. So the question is now, how do we set that? Well, we're trying to determine what TA is. So we know it's going to equal 15 times, because we put 15 pounds on it. Our first distance was 8 inches, and we went to Google and got that measurement, which came out to 0.2032, and that's going to be divided by 0.1778. All right, so maybe my formula is a little bit off here. There we go. And so that's what it's going to look like. Okay, we'll just move that down a little bit for you. So now let's just do the math on this. I'm going to break out with my calculator, my trusty calculator that you probably won't be able to see, and I'm going to say 0.2032 divided by 0.1778 comes out to 1.1425. I'm going to take that and multiply that. I'm going to say times, where's my times? Times 15. And then our answer is, torque applied is 17.14 foot-pounds of torque. So once we calculate this out, kind of looks like this. So my total torque applied is going to equal 17 foot-pounds of torque. And that's with my hand at the position that the weight was at. So if you really got to know the details, this is the form you want to run. I was really applying 17 foot-pounds of pressure on the torque wrench when I hung the 15-pound dumbbell from it. And it did click at 15 pounds, and it really didn't take the entire, I didn't have to dangle the entire weight to make that happen. So it told me that there was a little bit more going on there than just a straight 15 foot-pounds of torque. I hope that's helpful. And that meets the requirements of those of you that really wanted to get detailed. Thanks for watching this video. Hopefully this helps you in an easy way to calibrate and just make sure that your torque wrench isn't broken or isn't flawed. Obviously, as you saw when I did the math on that, I was actually applying 17 foot-pounds of torque versus the 15 that I had hung from the end of the wrench. I hope that's useful to you. If you like this video, you can watch our other videos, and we really appreciate your feedback. So definitely comment down below. If I did anything that you don't agree with, please let me know. And be sure to come back and watch more of our videos. Without you guys, this doesn't happen. We're having a lot of fun, and we hope you are too. Okay, so we thought it was broken. It turns out I was turning it the wrong way. Ah, don't do that. Alright, so Kelly has a vise. He's holding the camera today, and we're going to practice, see if we can torque. See, this is what happens when you lean. Over torque.
Let me lock this sucker down.
Sorry.
You're good, you're good. I like the angle. I just want...
Action! Do that back and we'll do that now.
One more, give me one more, just like that. Let me, hold on, stop. Okay.
I've had a few. I'm trying to help.
I've had a few of you.
There's been a few people that have... I keep saying it.
What the hell, man? Subscribe already.